Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Sorry for the delay with the problem on stream. I was having some problems with getting Firefox to work right, and then once Firefox got loaded, it didn't have my game set back on Roll20. So I had to sort of set everything back up. So today we're going to talk about Harley's apartment, and then I'm going to do some breaking down on some things that I did in the WKO this last weekend. Just letting you all know, I thank you all for all your support that you've given me on this show. And I got first place at the Seal WKO, so I have my Nationals bid, so I'm super happy on that. So let me try to adjust this a little bit more. There we go. A little bit more in frame. And so for anybody that's new, just sort of random Twitch, strolling. This is a show about the game called heroclix. We're just looking at maps today. And you can check me out on Starting Over Podcast on YouTube. All right, so let's have a nice little cheers and get into this. All right, now we're going to get our happy little brush here, and we're going to start talking about how to navigate this map. Now, because of the deep colors, I think we should probably use something that's going to stand out a little bit more. We can't do green. Orange and red is out. Let's try blue. Oh, yep, there we go. Blue. Blue is our winner right here. Okay, so let's start looking at realistically. Let's go. I shouldn't have put that on the map layer. That was rookie mistake. Rookie mistake right there, people. Always, always, always when you're about to do pseudo ESPN, make sure that you're not on map layer, that you're on object layer, and yeah, got to do that. All right. All right, so why am I using it or even talking about this map? This is like a nobody map. No one thinks about this map. No one talks about this map. This is something that most people are like, what? I know I got this map. Why do I even care about this map? And there's a couple reasons why you should actually care about this map and why it's good. Okay. First off, the biggest reason that I would say you want to care about this map is this is the main reason why I was able to get WKO wins in sealed, not in constructed, and I'll break down that little tidbit a little bit later. But one of the main reasons why I was able to go as far as I did in sealed is because of the Grand Chasm. And this Grand Chasm has a lot of stuff to teach us about how we currently play the game versus how we used to play the game. Okay. All right. So this is one of the few times where I'm going to actually probably give Steve a compliment. Starting on elevation, on the highest elevation, and then the lowest elevation or lower elevations being right here, creates a gameplay situation where both sides are even. Okay, you're not at a huge distinct disadvantage for crossing this little divide. But at the other end, if you do not have the ability to ignore elevation for flight, you're going to be very, 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 very limited on your ways of approaching and engaging your opponent. Okay. So, just to let you know, the catapult is right here, and that has special rules, but we're not going to really deal with the catapult right now. Really, technically, we can sort of pretend that it's not there, but the catapult has the ability for you to pretty much jettison a character this way. You put one character here, then you have another character adjacent to the hindering. That character takes a power action. You roll 2d6, and then you add that together, and you get knocked back this direction. Now, there's a couple of problems with this. A, is your character immune to knockback? Well, nothing happens. You know, like that's one. Number two is if you roll low, you just end up right here, and that part sort of sucks. But you're hoping to roll relatively high so that you can land from elevation 3 down to elevation 1, somewhere in the golden zone here. Okay, because if you can land there, then you can say like, boom, my opponent is over here. Now I can sort of go charge at them. But then you're also asking yourself, well, why don't I just go walk down this way if my opponent's over here? And so there's some good things and bad things about this map when it comes to the catapult. But really, 90% of the catapult stuff can be ignored unless you really just need to get the hell out of Dodge. Like not like right now, but yesterday. Then the catapult is something to think about. But other than that, it has like nothing to do with the standard game. All right, so let's start off like we always do at the top of the key. And at the top of the key, we have a standard starting area. This is important that we're looking at really the top and the bottom of the key, that we have the standard starting area, which means that we're not getting gypped on our space, okay? But we're not having some like elongated starting area like so, something like that, which makes it artificially closer, okay? You start seeing, like, if I draw like your artificially square starting area, how much closer you are between the 2 points. Okay, that pretty much eradicates the need for this distance here in the middle, or we could call it the chasm. Okay, so we could have chasm level 1 and chasm level 2. All right, the chasm is there to create tension in play. Because if you misplay how you shoot or react in the chasm, it's pretty much game over. So, with standard starting areas, and there we go. Standard starting areas, you are now able to approach or look at the ways of approach quite differently than you can on standard map. Okay. Next thing is when we look at the top of the key, what distinctive elements do we have there? Element number 1, we have 4 squares of blocking terrain just right there at the start. Now, some of you might think like, yeah, that's a little annoying, Dark Logos. I don't really like that. Some of you might say, that's not bad. Definitely if you don't plan on leaving your starting area, you have a safe place to hide behind. And if you have no giants or colossals, you have a nice little safe place to sort of fortify behind with barrier or free barriers, that is. So that is something to definitely keep in mind. So it's easy for you to barrier here and barrier here, and you're able to keep this little section safe. So yeah, that's a nice little pocket that you're able to protect. Okay, so you also have access to some hindering up top, which in my opinion is not that big of a deal unless you figure out a way of making it a big deal. I would also sort of point out, with you having more hindering towards you in the top section of the map, if you have some little like, hey man, I go from hindering to hindering, you might actually want to consider being on the top side of the map. Because being on the bottom of the map, most of you are like, hey, 4 squares to jump to the next, spot of hindering terrain or whatever. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to traverse. Okay, because usually it's like 4 to 5 squares between hindering terrain, and if we look up top, you can go from here then go there, then go there, then go there. Okay? Or if you're here, you can go here, and then jump over to here, maybe jump over to here, and then come over here. Okay? So, like, there's different routes that you can go. Like, and then last but not least, you get there. There's different routes that you can go, but it's easier on the top because if we look at the same diagram from the bottom, and then I'm going to pick a different color here. So we got this purple or pink that's really, it's not showing up too well. If you're able to go from here to here, your next leap is actually, you want to get to there. And that might be a lot more difficult for some of the pieces that go from hindering to hindering. That's just a lot bigger jump. So you're stuck going over here, and you may not want to do that. So anyway it goes, you might end up moving out to the center place from here to there, and then you have to like either bounce over to the left, or you're just going to end up walking again before you can bounce over into here. So this is really not the most optimal place to be if you have some ability to bounce between hindering terrain. All right. Boom. Okay, cool. All right, so that's one thing that I actually like about that, and I'm gonna try to get the Twitch up. So give me a quick second. Okay. Alright, so it still gets my audio. Great. Okay. Alright, so it still gets my audio. Great. Okay. Alright, so it still gets my audio. Okay, so I should be back now. Bear with me. Still learning the basics of the transitions and stuff. Okay, so I should be back now. Bear with me. And Twitch. I'm actually able to look at the chat right now. So boom. Okay, cool. All right, so let's really start looking at the meat of the main elements of this map, and it comes in a couple of different ways. The first is Overdrive does not like this map. He does not like this at all. And some of you are like, what? Yeah, because if you face an Overdrive team and Overdrive starts here and it wants to get down here, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay, 13. That's with your sidestep, I think. Now, if you have Sam Cap, you can get all the way over here. And then you got to plop your whole team around in there, okay? You have to eat up a lot of extra energy. And let's just say your opponent's like, okay, cool, you're here. I break away and I fly. And I'm going to running shot up here and shoot down here. And then I kill your Overdrive. you're charged up, and now your overdrive pops out, bloop bloop, and then I can send somebody from back here, up here, to go and shoot overdrive, and then now you're stuck down there in dead man's land. Okay, that's a huge problem. Now I know some people will be like, but Dark Logos, I wouldn't do that. I would go after the guy down here. Okay, cool. You would go after the guy down at the bottom. That's fine. You wouldn't go back at the guy at elevation 1. But this is something that I learned playing around with Kid Gladiator, is that if your opponent is having problems, bear with me, it's allergy season, you know. If your opponent is having problems navigating between elevations and you do not have a distinct disadvantage doing that, yeah, this map is actually pretty raw. So let's take this first example. If you are to come out of your starting area, and let's just say you're going from your starting area here, and let's just make a T here, and that's our TKer. Okay, so our TKer is going to shoot us up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom. Okay, then I'm going to run a shot on standard. It's about 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to be here. This is where my average character is going to be shooting from. Okay, so what we can see is that if my opponent is on elevation 1 and I shoot from here, I can see from this threat area all the way through just about everything in this threat area here. And then up into, you know, elevation 3, I can see all this stuff here. I cannot see elevation 2 whatsoever. Okay? Now, you can say, well, where am I shooting at on elevation 3? So we're going to, let's just say we have the average 7 range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right here. Okay? So we're shooting at this area here. So we can really just make the bar actually a little bit higher there. My my MS Paint skills, son, they're going up a level. Going up a level. All right, so you can see, like, boom, I can be relatively safe chilling out behind this little square of blocking. My opponent really can't shoot me unless, you know, they get closer. So your opponent, it's deceiving and saying, like, oh, this is open, so I can get an alpha strike on my opponent. Not with the average standard figure. Now, again, I'm banking on the average running shot being 4 and the average range being 7. Okay, so you're not going to reach across there. You don't have a huge reach. Okay, so let's just say you go first, and you know that your opponent has that standard range and reach with the TK and everything else, and you have some decent amount of mobility. If you know you can be safe, there's no reason, definitely if you fly, not to go here or here. These spots directly just tell your opponent, you can't touch me. I'm going to get alpha strike on you because you can't reach this line here, being on the bottom of the map. So that's a distinct problem. So being on the top of the map, you have a slight advantage because the distance between your starting area and the cavern is a lot smaller. Okay, and you have the 2 distinct options between elevation 2 and elevation 1. You could go on to either. Okay, and you don't lose like an extra movement going from 1 to 3. Okay, so that's an issue. All right, now, boom. Because we know at this situation that it's a lot easier to, you know, go from the top to the bottom, we can now draw some special conclusions. Okay, so special conclusion number 1: if I have a TK, so we're going back with my T, And here's my target. I'm going TK up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, I've run out of territory. Okay, so I've run out of territory. So I'm only getting 5 instead of my full 6. Okay, cool. All right, now I can, if let's just say my character flies and has that standard movement of 4. So we're going to be TK there. So we're going to go, and we're going to fly. Or better yet, we're not even going to fly. We're just going to run down the steps. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Actually, sorry. 1, 2, 3 over this way. 4. And if we're at 4, guess what? We're not going up. We're not hitting anything up here. But what we can hit is if we just, running shot or sidestep over to, around here, we have a similar threat radius that we can hit. Okay? Very similar threat radius that we can hit. Okay? We could cover everything up here and everything in this sort of like scope here. But this little spot down here, and I know there's a lot of circles, but this little spot down there, it's technically a little bit safe. Because you unless you shoot through elevated. All right. All right, cool. I wish I could see who's like watching, because that would be. Oh, I got a total of 28 views. I actually feel good about myself. All right, so going on as I shake up my my handmade Gatorade. We're seeing that, like, as annoying as this map is, it starts creating little pockets of annoyance. Okay? So, for example, if my opponent decides that they're on the bottom of the key, they know that it would be a very, very, very bad idea for them to rush out into elevation 2. It just would be. Okay? Now, no, I'm just talking about a standard team. I'm not talking about hyper taxis and mega TKs and all this other stuff. Just a standard team. If they move down into here or into here, any standard team with the basic tools is going to just nerf them. Like, it's just going to nuke them from either here or over here. Okay, so like the counter plays are quite obvious. And even if you said like you went somewhere, yeah, like this square, which is J7. J7 and K7, those two squares give you a very, very wide scope. Okay? Very wide scope. And you can say, if you want to make sure you almost definitively cover elevation 2 because you're really, really concerned, I would say, you're probably best at H7. Because that way you could get a good breadth of elevation 2. And if you need to, you can running shot down or charge down or whatever. Okay. All right. So we can see already the bottom of the map has a distinct disadvantage if you're just looking to like Kung Pao chicken it and just run out there and be like, ah. Okay. That's the worst thing you could do. And again, if we're looking from an offensive perspective, the top of the map gives you the best place to sort of sniper camp from, or spawn camp. Now, why is that? Like I said, we're able to cover more angles on this seventh row versus specifically how much do we have to cover on the 12th row. Like the 12th row is sort of disappointing. Okay. Now, if we look at the bottom of the map, we have some other advantages that could kick in that we might say like, maybe this could be good. Okay, one of the main things that kicks in for me is with the popularity of Magneto, we've limited Magneto's attacks down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he can blow terrain 6 times and make 6 attacks. Now that's a lot of attacks. So you still probably want to kill Magneto before then. But if you have any type of improved movement, destroys blocking or anything like that, you're able to just say to Magneto, screw you. You're not going to be able to get a bunch of attacks off on me. And now, if I'm on the bottom of the key, it's a really huge advantage because I pop a Colossus, destroy all of this, and be like, man, okay, you're going to get 2 chances to try to hit me for a ridiculous amount of damage, and that's all you're going to get. And if I survive that, your offense is pretty much done. And that's something I don't think a lot of people have thought about. Now, I know some folks will be like, well, Dark Logos, I would rather put them on like Harley's map or the roller rink map or this other map or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that is true. But if you look at it, and let's look at it again, most of these X-Men teams that are out there, you kill Little Cheney. Can Magneto really navigate this map real well? And the answer is no. He really can't. Okay, so let's really break that down. Why Magneto really can't navigate this well. We're gonna go over here to Realms. I know my phone, I have to use Chrome browser in my phone to actually like look at Realms now. So the mobile version is horrible. It's infected like. I'll just say I can't think of anything that's politically correct as an example. All right, so Magneto. All right, go back here. All right, so here's our lovely floating debris Magneto. All right, let's ignore the stats. All the stats don't matter except for this one, which is the range. Well, the 2 stats, range and movement. So we see Magneto doesn't start with any sort of running shot. He has sidestep. Okay? And so, because he has sidestep, we take away Little Cheney. Alright. Magneto's in a very bad situation. Because, let's just say Magneto comes all the way down from the top, and somehow he has Mjolnir or whatever. And he decides to engage right here, or somewhere right here. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Oh, okay, so down slightly a bit. Can't be that high up. Okay. Here at Starting Over Podcast, we try to be accurate. Try to be accurate. All right, so he has to attack you somewhere in here. Somewhere in between, let's just say, 15 and 16 column. So this is the area. And the main reason I'm using Mjolnir is just so to say that he can get like maximum damage going. Alright, so he needs to attack you somewhere in here. Alright, and let's just say that, you know, your opponent didn't really think out this situation. And instead of attacking over here, your opponent attacks over here. Okay. Boom. The engage happens, and we're going to move to the part right after you kill Little Cheney. And then you decide to say, all right, I'm able to still do some hit and runs or whatever. I'm going from right here down there. Okay? So what is Mags to do? What really is Mags to do? Because if you're down here and you pop that Colossus ID card and there is no rubble here, his only place of rubble is up here. And he's already burned 2 of them. And he's not going to be within range. So let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So right here, he can't just bloop, reach for more rubble. Okay? For his last hurrah. So now you might say like, hey, that's really not a great situation for Magneto to be in. It's like, yeah, it's not. Okay, so let's look at another scenario that's really important with dealing with Magnetos. And again, people, I'm not saying this is the only way of dealing with Magnetos. They're most of the teams I've seen are +4 or more map X-Men. Like, it's ridiculous. You're going to have another equal theme team to beat Magneto at map, or he just rolls a crit miss. Or that team rolls a crit miss. So, anyway, so what we can see is that now Magneto has to sort of readjust to back up to get the last bit of rubble over here. And that gives you a time to be down here and reset to go back and tag Magneto. Well, and the thing is, I think it has to be, it doesn't have to be within line of fire, it just has to be within range. But if you're able to fly, boom, you're able to tag Magneto wherever he's at. So Magneto just has sidestep. So Magneto can't sidestep and reach you with a range attack or a melee attack. And he's at a huge disadvantage. And you're able to regroup all because you're able to navigate elevation. Now, the big element is if you have that flying hypersonic speeder. I know some of you be like, yep, this is why Kid Gladiator was so dominant, and why you're able to win the WKO, is that in other maps that we've had, like the middle of the map is usually going to like higher elevations, and that person stays at highest elevation, being like really, really protected. But in reality, in this map, it's like the direct opposite. You almost want to dance around here and here. Because if your opponent can't navigate fully, if they're over on this area or this side of the map, getting over here is going to be really hard. If they're on the O through P side of the map, getting over here might be a little bit easier. But if they don't have a TK plus a hyper movement, and I'm going to clear out so I can make my point and doesn't look like a 2-year-old drawing. That piece of hindering terrain on elevation 1 that is in J and K 9 and 10 is a really safe place to be. Come on. Get selected for me. Oh yeah, so it's a really safe place to be. All right, now let's sort of break down a little bit more on some matchups about why this is still good. Let's go into Unimind. Unimind is in the same situation as Magneto, even though his range is ridiculously long. Most Unimind teams are not set up for Unimind to actually fight. You know, a little bit more so now since his Perplex got nerfed. But let's just ask ourselves, is he going to be able to maximize his range in most of his fights? Well, if it's on elevation 2, no. If it's on elevation 1, no. On elevation 3, yes. Okay? Now you could say that he can hypersonic speed up and shoot down into elevation 1 or 2. And that is correct. He can hypersonic speed up and shoot down into elevation 1 or 2. But here's the problem. He had to pick hypersonic speed. That means he doesn't have prop. That means he has to pick prop somewhere else. It also more than likely means that he had to perplex up his movement, which is another concern. So he can only then perplex up his damage if he's attacking. So that means he won't have a perplexed up defense. And if he perplexes up his defense, he's not hitting as hard as he could. Okay? So those tiny little things start to matter. And you can say, well, but Dark Logos, he's going to go up to elevation 1 or 2, hypersonic speed up, and then back out. And it's like, well, yes, he will do that. And guess what you can do if you survive that? or when you survive that, because the distance isn't going to be that great, you're within running shot, charge, or hypersonic speed distance. And that's important, because having to go all the way from here to here, or sorry, to here, shoot, and then back out to here, you're not getting anywhere close to where you were. Your mileage is decreasing on the back half. And you can easily go from down here, if you ignore elevation, to right here. That's a real simple hop, skip, and a jump. Or if he goes from here way up here, shoots, he's only able to probably get back to here. And if you're down here, you're just going to be like, bloop, gotcha. Now, some of you might say, this doesn't seem realistic, because that figure is able to hit like a Mack truck, being shot through, a rail gun that's the size of Canada. I don't see how I'm going to actually be able to deal with a team like this. And I'll tell you the honest truth, the average team building process doesn't, unless you decide to build in a more tanky way. So it was brought up on the Meta Lab this last weekend, in part about what I played in Constructed and how I got into the final round, and I lost to my teammate Lucas Van Hollen. So he had a great team. I don't really feel it's fair to dissect his team, because anyway, he has some things that he has planned in it that I may not mention. So if he ever wants to talk about his team, he can talk about his team. But let's look at the Merc Jet real quick, and let's realize why most people don't understand the Merc Jet. Okay. So I played the Merc Jet at 175. And some people don't realize, number one, how deep the Merc Jet is. And there was a misunderstanding on the Meta Lab. One guy was saying, like, oh, 2 attacks from Magneto, he's able to kill the Merc Jet. That's actually not exactly true. So let's break down why that's not exactly true. First off, you don't really have to care about the pilot abilities. You really just need to focus on it still flies, right? Okay, snooze that. Okay. Deadpool Merc Jet may occupy squares of different elevations. It can't be the target, can't be targeted by mind control. And when it is dealt penetrating damage, the damage can be reduced. That is big. Alright. Now we start off with toughness. So let's just say we're straight up dealing with a standard mags coming in. And it's all melee. No Mjolnir or anything like that. All melee. So the first attack is going to, I think it's, just want to make sure so I don't say it wrong. Because to my knowledge, on average, yeah, it says as if he was holding a heavy object. Yeah, so he's going to be a +2. So I'm going to pin mags over here just for future. Okay, so Magneto's hitting us for 5. So, alright, so we're going to take 4. So we're going to go to click 5, and then we're going to take 4 again. Okay, so then that's going to take us to click 9. Alright. Alright, so then he does it again. So we're going to take 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, so yeah, he actually could. Alright, so there's a couple of things in how you build the Merc Jet that you want to say, like, yeah, we're going to sort of make it annoying. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do that I didn't do to make the Merc Jet more interesting or more viable for you. I used, Bizarro Green Arrow with Asgardian Shield, so that your opponent has to come in and make a melee attack, and then I have Carnage there on the side. That is something that's up to you to consider. I can't force that on anyone, but, it's up for you to think about. All right. So first off, you run this with the teleporter, and there's a couple of cool things that you can do to make this stupid. And I've thought about this for a while. And you sort of take a similar mindset that you do to what's his name? That one Colossus that promotes Mangog. You take a similar idea that you do to Mangog, and that is that you're putting the inspirations on him every turn, minus, and your ID deck is there to make him just survive. I made the mistake of having a lot of Pulse Wave on my first time I played it in South Bend. Took off Storm, kept Iceman, but there were some other things on there that I had just to make him a little bit more annoying. But it's doable. So your ID cards that you want to have are as follows. Now you can take them in and out as you want, but I have Shield level 7 in Green Arrow and Iceman. Those three are very, very aggressive cards. Okay, and I don't need to really explain them. But at the other end, you also have access to. I use Nightwing. Now, Nightwing is not for the inspiration, but for Tony Zuko, and you just call out a Perplexer, and the Perplexer is able to. Tony Zuko is able to heal you, and that's part of where this becomes really annoying. Definitely when you have Bizarro Green Arrow. Then you have Colossus, and I forgot my last ID. Oh, Wolverine. Wolverine is very, very annoying, mainly because if you're able to go against other teams into mid game, they don't know how deep you are because no one studies Mercjet. Okay, let's just be honest. No one studied Mercjet. And the fact that you're taking hits and then starting to heal up damage every other turn, plus supports and whatnot, it's going to get real annoying real fast. Okay, and so that's when they're going to try to dogpile on you, is at the end. When, they probably should try dogpiling on you in the middle. But the other thing is with Magneto, the biggest mistake that people make in understanding and looking at the Mercjet is that when you're running a teleporter, all those attacks that you're pumping out, you're just spinning that teleporter really fast, like somebody's on Wheel of Fortune, at the end trying to get that $1. Like it's just ridiculous. Okay, so let's go through some IDs that you can actually put onto Mercjet to make it offensive and to make it still good. Now, I would say we're mainly shooting for casual play, not at like a rock or something. Okay, we're not shooting for a rock. And the reason I say this is everything that I'm about to say is going to just piss off your opponent. But it's not guaranteed to take you over to that win zone. Okay. All right. So the first thing that you have access to, or ID that you want to access, is Colossus. Now, Colossus, of course, gives us Impervious. So now we have access to Impervious onto our Mercjet. Next up is Spider-Man. Spider-Man gives us Super Senses. So we want to have Super Senses on our Mercjet. Okay. I like Wolverine, and Wolverine is better sort of in the long run. You do not want Beast because combat reflexes is too situational. Even if you run BGA and everybody has to hit you in melee, combat reflexes is not getting you over into like 21s, 22s. Okay, it's not good enough. Okay. And remember, no matter what, you could still be outwitted. So you're trying to force your opponent to use their outwits on getting rid of these powers from the teleporter so that they can just try to hit you standard, which allows you to keep your standard damage reduction. Okay. If we keep on going, Black Panther is not as useful. Anything that's giving you stealth is not as useful as some people might think, because you have to play on a map like Wakanda before it becomes any benefit, and most people have IDs that are going to be anti-stealth. So that's really not going to help you that much. Shield level 7 and Green Arrow ID help you when you get into what I like to call aggressive Merc Jet. Okay? And aggressive Merc Jet, folks will get surprised once an aggressive Merc Jet comes out. Okay, so we also can look at Plastic Man. Now, I know some folks be like, "Ooh, Plastic Man." But again, he's giving us plasticity. Same thing with Venom. Venom gives us plasticity. Martian Manhunter, Venom gives us shape change. Plastic Man gives us shape change. And Martian Manhunter gives us shape change. Superman, of course, gives us invincible. The new Professional XID also gives us shape change as well. So that's nice for us to have. The Atom ID card could be useful, but I wouldn't use it right now. I don't see that there's a place for it right now. Green Lantern can sort of be useful. And that's if you're not playing with BGA. But even still, I wouldn't really push to have Energy Shield. Like I said, the stacks really aren't worth it. And I don't think Vixen gives super senses, does she? Oh, she does. So Vixen is another good one. All right, so you're going for a full defensive build with your ID cards. So just tell your opponents, like, come on, come at me, bro. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You gonna try to hit me? All right, super senses. All right, boom, got it. Oh, I have invincible from Superman ID. Okay, you hit me for 6. All right, I take 3. Boom, I take 3. All right. Those are little things that become big deals. So if you want to be more focused on, taking hits and surviving, Superman plus Colossus is good. Anything that's giving you damage reduction. If you're doing it in Golden Age, Wonder Man is another one. Those IDs are great. So you can stack Wonder Man, Superman, and Colossus, and half your deck is defensive powers, and then you can drop Professor X, Spider-Man, and Shield level 7, or a Venom and Shield level 7 and Green Arrow, whatever, so that you'll have 2 offensive cards. Again, Iceman is as needed, and I'll say this right now, I don't think Iceman is a hardcore solution for the game right now. In later months, maybe, but as it is right now, I don't see him as the hero that we really need to solve a lot of our problems. I feel like Chase Iceman is a good investment in the long term. It's like a stock that will give dividends. But I do not think that he is something that's like, we need this right now. All right. So let's go back looking at what I like to call aggro jet. And this is really what comes down to who is your pilot and what is he doing. Now, if you're going above 300 points, there's a lot of other cool little shenanigans that you can do. If you are not going to use BGA, there is the whole Morlock Proteus trick, so you can get some last bit of mileage out of that. But again, out of like all of my tournaments that I played, I got very little value out of Pulse Wave. There's one match against Devin. Yes, Devin from Happy Little Heroclix. You have made me very, very sad that I didn't have Proteus inside. But at the same time, if I had a Morlock die off, you probably would have won that game. But Proteus would give you a permanent 11 attack 4 damage with Pulse Wave. And you have somebody that's able to like rally like hardcore after all is said and done. Now, I will say that you really don't need all that. And you could try to find some really good cheap or very moderately priced pilots to keep good stats up or better range, and that's possible. But what I would more emphasize is prob, more prob, and all the probs. So when I start looking at prob for modern age, and again, you all can look at this. I was looking for probability control really like under 50, but primarily I was just seeing like who's out there, and then we're looking for it on the first click because I don't have time to activate in most in most games, and you'll see like you don't have a lot of good options at first. You're like, oh, instant check off. Whoa, I don't want to play him. He's too expensive. Oh, there's Romulan Sub Commander. All right, whatever. Charlie X, you're not helping me. And you have to remember, if any point in time you swap out your stats for your pilot, you have to replace all the stats. So the range, the attack, and the damage. So if they have a 0 range, that can really hurt you. Okay. So Rocket Raccoon can't be a pilot because he's a Pog. Okay, so we got Gateway. This doesn't help me. Dr. Stark is okay, but that 2 damage sucks. And he has a 5 range. This is the one I actually legitimately thought about playing. And then I realized that in the end, she didn't do enough for the team. With Fast Force's Nico Minoru. Yeah, Negasonic Teenage Warhead is horrible. Dupe is not good either, because once everything happens with him popping out, he's more than likely dead. So that really led me to Domino, and then I was looking at somebody else. I think I was looking at Domino and Raven, because the Wizard is nice, but he, in the end, for what I was doing, he ended up becoming too expensive. But once he takes that damage from coming out, he's not that useful. Now, if you have the points, full Spectre, mwah, that's beautiful. But you're not getting him at 35 points. Yeah, full Spectre inside of the Merc Jet. Yeah, that's a hero right there. But you can start to see, you have Batgirl at 50, but again, too expensive. So you see, hey, Domino. Wow, that gives me a 7 range prob. A 7 range prob. It's better than the 6 range that I already have. I have access to precision strike, so I can have that without. I can use that with hypersonic speed, and I don't have to worry about taking up the stats. Okay. If I don't want to, and if I know I'm just going to summon. And I'm just like, yeah, I'll take Domino stats. I'll have 7 range. And you can't be mind controlled, so you don't have to worry about that. So all of a sudden, folks will be like, how can you prob that? I'm like, I got 7 range because of Domino. Oh. Okay. And then you're able to do a lot because you're going to be on multiple levels of elevation, so you can start probbing people that your opponent doesn't think you can prob because you can see from a different square. So we can start to break down, like, again, sort of going back to Harley's map, Harley's apartment, that if I was able to put a Merc Jet right in here, I could hit any level of elevation I wanted. And if you just say like 6 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bloop. I'm trying to draw the triangle as best as I possibly can. Bloop. And all right. That's a huge amount of space. That's a huge amount of space that you could just cover and actually One, two. It's actually something like this, really. Yeah. All right, that's a huge amount of space that you can cover. Your opponent can still sort of hide from you, but yeah, your opponent can hide from you. But if you sort of see this weird creature that I'm drawing, that's a lot of space to cover. And you could just be like, oh, yeah, I'm on H11, H through K, 11 and 12. And you hit all 3 levels of elevation. And you could be very, very safe. Sorry, not very, very safe. You could be telling your opponent, hey, come at me. Or you could just be like, yeah, whatever. Like, you try to hide somewhere, or you try to jump over. I got you. I'm going to shoot you with the Merc Jet. So, Carnage is, I don't really need to explain Carnage, because Carnage is a Carnage is a Carnage. So that's self-explanatory. But what we definitely know is, looking at the Merc Jet, is this top tier meta? And I would say no, it's not top tier meta. I would also say that the Merc Jet is probably at best something that we can sort of keep in the background. And the main reason I say it's something that we can keep in the background is its points are pretty good at 175. And I know some people will say, it's horrible, it's not that great, blah, 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 blah. But realistically, it's a lot better design than we're really giving it credit for. Because most of the time, I could say, is that we're either we're able to create an 11 attack, or we're sitting at 4 damage. So there's only a brief amount of situations in which, we're not doing, at least a 4 damage. Okay, and even if you could say, like, click 6, oh, I have Flurry, and I have Flurry. That means that I can do a lot more damage, but I can't get to 11 attack, but I got 4 damage. And so there are little things that the Merc Jet is just very, very good at being finessey, while also being very direct. You can just tell your opponent, come on, come shoot this sucker. Okay, are you done shooting the sucker? All right, I'm going to drop an ID card character on you. And they're going to do 4 to 5 damage. Okay, cool. All right, you're going to punch me? All right, well, I'm going to get the heck up out of here. I'm going to push in doing it, but I'm gone. If I decide to hypersonic speed up on my first few clicks, I'm like, hey, I got precision strike from my pilot, or I have prob from my pilot, and I can choose to either do a ranged attack or a melee attack, and I'm just going to be like, zip, zip, boom, out. And then my opponent's going to be like, well, do I have to chase down the Merc Jet? And I'm like, well, you don't have to, but it behooves you to do so. Okay? The next thing that I also liked about the Merc Jet is that, on the lower dial, you do have that sidestep, and that sidestep is useful after, the Magnetos, sort of have their way with you. But it's something else also to consider from a tempo perspective. So, overall, like we can see, like just briefly looking at the Merc Jet, there's a lot of cool stuff out there that we can play with. And I don't think that it's all just, shredders. I don't think it's all just Unimind. I don't think it's all just, Jakeem's sort of dead right now. Or Goblin King, or, Magneto for his brief period. I think there's a lot of other things for us to look at. And years ago, I did a series called Think Big. And I looked at Colossals and how to actually, use Colossals as actual figures in the game. And one of the biggest things that I learned was you use them as shock troopers. They go in, they attack people, they do damage. they they absorb the hits for your team, and they apply pressure on your opponent, making them believe that the shock trooper is a bigger threat than anything else on their team, on your team. And I feel like the same thing can be said with the Merc Jet, that it is a shock trooper, that your opponent is going to look at it and be like, man, do I have to deal with it? And it's like, no, you don't have to deal with it. You can do it with the rest of my team, but I have 60 points on the field, before IDs. Are you going to be able to KO that 60 points on the field while I bombard you with ID cards? And if the answer is yes, then good job on your team. If the answer is no, then you might have to figure out a more finesse way of dealing with the big shock trooper, which is the Deadpool Merc Jet. I know some people will even go so far to say it's like, well, this just proves that WizKids doesn't play test or anything like that. And in this case, I would really, really, really say no, that's not the case. This is actually, like I said, it's really balanced, because I'm paying 175 points for this. And if you look at a lot of other figures, and we can look at it right now, a lot of other figures that I could get for, let's just say, in the range of 150 to, and I'm going to be nice to say 180 modern age, are going to be a lot better. So we got our Worm, we got Armagon. Y'all remember Armagon, right? We have the D20 Doctor Strange. See, we got Cyclops and Wolverine, Chase Iceman, Red Hulk, Unimind. I think Tidal Thor. Yeah, Tidal Thor is in here. Tidal Thor can attack twice. And I actually, real talk, I actually did think about using Tidal Thor with my team and making a team around Tidal Thor for the WizKids Open. And I didn't. And the main reason that I did it was, even though Tidal Thor could do more, I felt that with the current situation, that since Tidal Thor wasn't immune to outwit, he would get outwit and then just get wrecked. And so I didn't want to deal with that. So yeah, let's see. We got Mangog, Cosmic Spider-Man, Goblin King. Let's keep going. Oh, I love some Iron Nail, but can't get them to work. Martian Manhunter is not bad. Harley Quinn, Supergirl, she's really good at 160. The Bombshell Supergirl. Geo4 sucks, but Hell is here. Actually, no, he's not good. His higher point version is good. Night Lantern's not bad. Mary Marvel's good. Casey Green Lantern. Yeah, Casey Green Lantern, Casey Shazam. Brutal at 175 is really not bad. He can do a lot of damage. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so we have other things that we can play. But the question comes in is, what is our goal? If our goal is to, spin ID cards, then survivability matters. Okay, but if our goal is to get the buffs from the ID cards, then damage output matters. All right, so there's different ways of playing this game and looking at the game, and I feel like the Merc Jet was another way of looking at the game. And one thing I also sort of realized as I played was the disadvantage of only having like one attacker. You could say, like, what about Carnage? Like, Carnage is dead in a lot of my games, but Bizarro Green Arrow forces my opponent to come in close on Carnage, and so it's something that's really good to think about. from a thought experiment perspective. But other than that, So that's going to be it for today's show. I sort of had a mix between ID cards, plus looking at a map, plus sort of talking about the meta. So yeah, you also got to see my shining face. Again, I apologize for being late. It's just technical difficulties, but we're here. We're here. So, all right. I'd like to thank everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, just be glad you do not have the willow tree from planet 5398, because if you are allergic to it, you instantly explode. Yeah, allergies, man, it's hardcore right now. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Let me know what you want my next stream to be about. And yeah, that's a cool thing. Let me know what you want my next stream to be about. You can also follow me on YouTube, but more than likely you're looking at me on YouTube and Starting Over Podcast on YouTube. And of course, if you're watching me on Twitch, it's Starting Over Podcast on Twitch, all one word. So twitch.tv/Starting Over Podcast. It should be in the descriptions below. All right. And yeah, so check out my TeePublic website. You can get a Phoenix Nest t-shirt there, or a Starting Over Podcast t-shirt there. Or if you just like to donate to the show, you could go over to startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com and go find the PayPal link, and you can donate there. All right, that's it. I'd like to thank you all for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.